you mentioned like you were able to be creative during lockdown, which is a massively positive like spin on the whole year. And I know you released a single, didn't you? Damaged.
Yeah, that's the most recent one.
Yeah. I wanted to actually touch on that particular single. I've listened to it and I really like it.
Thank you.
Not just saying it to your face, but
Yeah.
but I thought it'd be interesting to get like a bit of the behind the scenes from you of like how it was created, you know, from ideas, bare ideas, and like writing process to the finished produced track.
When I was saying before about how I used to mess around with like GarageBand and stuff like that, I've got to the point now with like my production ability where all of our songs pretty much start off as demos, sort of made by me. I'll write the song on guitar, or Ewan will write it and send me a voice memo, or Luis will write something on piano and send it over, and then like I'll quickly string together a demo, program some drums in, some bass, whatever, and Damaged was written I think about 2 years ago. It's a very old song, like in the grand scheme of things, because we've got, like I said before, just the sheer amount of songs under our belt at the moment. But it was too good, in our opinion, to throw in the bin.
Yeah.
So that started off as a demo, and the original demo of it, I think, is still on SoundCloud. I'm not sure. And once I'd sort of got it to a point where we could all like listen to it, and the structure was set in, and the instrumentation was set in. With this, like the same with all our songs, we just kind of listen to them back to back and decide, right, that one's all right, that one's terrible, that one will do as B side, you know, and string them together. So we had Damaged and the B side, The Edge. And we were thought, right, if we go re-record them in the studio, they actually sound kind of similar. They've got a similar kind of vibe, a sort of similar kind of message. I don't know. But the lyrics for Damaged were written about something that happened to me in that time frame. But people have asked me about it in interviews before, and I am adamant that I will never tell anyone the meaning of any of our songs, purely because I want people to listen to it and apply their own experience, or you know, their own kind of feeling to it.
Yeah.
I know it's great as a fan of a band to get like the backstory to a song and be like, oh, I never knew it was written about that. That's pretty cool. But when it's a song like Damage that's obviously got emotion in it, and like it's about a scenario, I think if you tell someone exactly what it is, if they had a different kind of premonition in their head about it, and you kind of cast that aside, it won't have the same meaning for them.
Yeah, 100%. That's so true. That.
I got it when my mum first introduced me to the Stone Roses when I was 12 or 11 or 12, something like that. I was listening to the Second Coming album, and as I got older, I massively got into them when I heard tunes like Waterfall and This Is the One and I Am the Resurrection and all that. And I remember listening to Ian Brown's lyrics, and I was like, but I have no idea what you're saying half the time, because his vocal's far too quiet because he's just a bad singer. But like his actual lyrical content, I could tell it meant something, but I had no idea what he was on about. So I just applied it to a feeling, and then every time I listened to that song, it provoked that feeling. You know what I mean? Whether it be like joy, sadness, hate, blah de blah. And I think that is the beauty of songwriting for me. That if you're writing a song about, it's different with The Edge, because The Edge is a very visual tune. That's quite literally about like sitting on a hill, looking at a view, like a view where you can see for miles. Like if you listen to the lyrics, it's very plain.
Yeah.
So I can't really say like, oh no, actually, it's about going to the shop and getting a beer. Like, no, it's not. But it's not about a feeling. You know what I mean? That paints a scene. So I guess people can kind of be a bit more universal in that.
Yeah. And the artwork as well, like, says it.
Yeah, it's a great picture, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that.
It's that's actually up near one of the schools where I teach. It's up in Duckingfield, and it's like I found it by complete chance one day. I was going for a cigarette after work, and I was driving through some estate. I took a wrong turn, and it's literally at the end of a dead end road in the middle of an estate. And there's this house on the corner, and then just a patch of grass, and you can see right across Manchester, and no one else on the estate has the view. And this old couple live in the house. And I remember saying to him, because I was having a fag in the car and he was outside fixing up an old car, I was like, mate, you have the best view in like this whole basin of England. He was like, yeah, mate, house has been in the family for like 2 generations. But yeah, it's sick. That kind of, I don't know, we wanted to put that as the album cover purely because of its association to The Edge. Like that tune, it has nothing to do with Damaged, but
Yeah.
it looks cool. And who doesn't love like a night cityscape? You know what I mean? It's just pleasing to the eye, innit? And it's eye catching as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like they do go together because I've listened to Damaged and then the B-side. You've got The Edge, haven't you? And is the other one called Inside?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I've done my research. But when you said that you feel like, although you've not been explicit in what they're about, I did get the sense that they led into each other. They fed into each other, and it's almost like, I imagine anyway, my interpretation is like, you're telling stories that could have all happened on the same day or the same night, you know, like feeding in from, because Damaged is like a real, I don't know, like almost like anthemic feeling to that tune, and I feel like as you get to the B-sides, it's as if the night is drawing to an end, or, you know, like you're calming down and you're going home, and it's I think the visuals go with it really well.
I like that. I like that you've drawn that comparison. But you see what I mean? By me not saying exactly what it's about, you're able to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because I think there's almost like, I feel like with social media as well, the way it is, there's almost like an expectation from artists to reveal everything about themselves and everything about the music. So it is nice to have a bit of mystery and a bit of space to come to your own like interpretations.
Yeah, definitely. There has to be an air of mysticism about certain things. We kept that with because a lot of our mates and stuff like that knew that The Edge was going to be out as the B-side, and like we played it a few times, and it was like a well-known kind of demo that we like sort of circulated about our friend groups and that, but no one knew that Inside was going to be the last tune on it. No one had even heard it, and the guy that played guitar on it, Peter Daniel, he's a great friend of mine and Ewan's. Really, really talented guitar player. He does all the mad solos, so I can't really take credit for that. But you know, the kind of spin that he put on it, like that is a dark, moody tune. You know what I mean? Like it is not one to put on in summer when there's like dandelions and stuff knocking about. It's like a driving on the motorway at like 9 at night in the pissing down rain kind of tune. But it's emotive, and the guitars that he put on it, like it's pretty psychedelic, and it's a weird tune. You know what I mean? I don't feel like many people put out stuff like that, and that was a complete and utter surprise to our fan base. They'd never heard us do anything like that. They didn't know we had a song like that. None of our mates did. And that's what it's about. You've got to keep an air of mysticism, because if you give away all the slices of the pie, people know exactly what they're getting. And while they might love that for 5 minutes, people are fickle, man, because there are so many bands out there that if you give them everything of you and they don't like a certain part of it, they're going to move on to someone else. You know what I mean? I feel like it's better to give people less and get them to fall in love with little parts. And then if you keep dropping little bits in, it's inevitable that they're going to fall in love with you in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, I know I did get you to do this at the beginning of this interview, like describe the band and the music you make. And that's the sort of question I personally would hate to be asked, especially when you sort of, you bridge like different genres and your music is hard to define. But yeah, I feel like that's a really great quality to have about your music.
I think
But
so.
like hard to define. I think people don't always know what to expect from your next kind of thing.
Yeah.
Especially because you're in the early days, like you don't really want to pigeonhole yourselves, and you've got to allow yourself room to grow. So I think what you put out has just kind of showcased like your potential to go in different directions with your music.
Yeah, I think that with a lot of bands can try and tell you that, you know, we sound like so and so, or we sound like blah de blah, and you know, you've never heard anything like us, and we're genre bending and all that. But at the end of the day, man, it's up to the listeners and the fans to decide if you're like anything they've ever heard before. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
if people come to us and say like, you know, The Edge is a great song. It sounds a little bit like Oasis. It's got a little bit of Floyd in there, like whatever. That's my job done, because I've not said to people, it is this, it is that. You've got to think that. It's
Yeah.
coming organically. You know what I mean? And I think that's important with a band. You need to let, instead of mouthing off about how good you are or how weird you are, let people make their minds up for themselves. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to be buying the records and doing all that stuff. And while I know with like a lot of indie bands, like indie rock guitar bands, all the tunes are like 3.5 minutes long, and there's like 3 singles out a year, and they're all about birds, and they've all got pink trousers on, and you know, a lot of people like fall into the same category with it. I think anyway. I know like I'm tarring everyone with the same brush here, but there are a few that I've seen that are like that, and more often than not, they're the ones that are getting on the radio because it's accessible. You know what I mean? 12-year-olds can listen to that and be like, oh yeah, that's a good beat, that. But while we understand the importance of, you know, having shorter songs or songs about specific topics to get on the radio, there's another side to us where, you know, like I've listened to Pink Floyd and people like that growing up my whole life, and like the Grateful Dead and David Bowie. I know Ewan's massively into like Neil Young and Bob Dylan and like the folky side of things, and they never ever stifled their creativity to accommodate a certain market or a certain objective. You know what I mean? They were just all about, I'm going to make what I want to make. If people like it, they do. If they don't, they don't. And that's something that we really try and push forward in what we do. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I'm here writing Shine on You Crazy Diamond and we're putting out a 12-minute song, but that's why we put B-sides to singles, because The Edge is 6 minutes and it'd never get on the radio. Couldn't really promote it as a single, but it's still a belting song that people love. So that's why we want to, you know, put it as the B-side to a single. And same with Inside. Well too moody to get on the radio, and most people will find it better depressing, but there's a small amount of people that will think it's beautiful, but it's not, you know, like single worthy. So there are kind of different elements going on in our sound that we want to push forward in tandem with, you know, like the poppier stuff. Like I'm fully aware that Damaged is basically a pop tune, but you know, I think it's important to have a balance because it shows integrity and it shows that authenticity instead of trying to copy everything everyone else is doing. If you want your records to be on the shelves in 10, 20 years, you've got to do something different at the end of the day, don't you?